Welcome to the regularly scheduled Hollis School Board meeting. Today is January 7th, 2026. Happy New Year, all. We're going to start out with any agenda adjustments, nominations, resignations, and correspondence.
I have not. Had none. Sorry. I'm just making sure.
I was wondering if we could adjust the...
Hold on.
Yep.
You're all done? Okay.
That was what I thought.
That's fine.
I was wondering if we could adjust the discussion to identify the other person to go do the spec interviews here, or if that would be
It's
something.
me.
Okay. Then
It's already done.
It's done. I'll just bother you.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yep, so, yeah, we'll deviate for a quick second. It is always the chair or their designee, because I also do double duty as the vice chair. I don't handle the roll-ups, but I attend.
Got it.
So we'll be
Okay.
good.
I'll bother you.
Yep, we'll get that scheduled.
Then I don't need that adjustment.
Perfect, then I will kibosh your agenda adjustment.
Great.
Next up is approval of minutes for our meeting on December 3rd, 2023. The following amendments were offered. Page 2, lines 46 and 47, correct to state the second grade concert was held on the 19th at 9 a.m. Page 7, line 16, replace font with front. Page 7, line 21, replace tying with trying. Page 8, line 35, insert was that following response. Page 9, line 27, replace schedule with scheduled. Page 12, line 10, replace here with there. Page 13, line 41, correct the spelling of the. Page 14, line 33, and page 22, line 35, replace form with from. Page 20, line 41, correct the spelling of what. I'll accept a motion to accept as amended. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on those? Seeing none, all those in favor? Accepting, 400. I am going to open public input at this time. It is 6:06 p.m. We weren't agenda to open it till 6:15, so I will leave it open till 6:45 or thereabouts. If there are any members of the public here who'd like to speak, come on up to the podium. Please introduce yourself loud and clear, because it's hard to hear a little bit over the din. And name and address, please.
Cool. Victor Orlando, 266 Depot Road, Hollis.
Nice to meet you.
Feel free to adjust the mic if you need to.
Yeah, the mic doesn't amplify for us, but it captures it for the recording.
Thank you. I just have a couple questions regarding the proposed expansion for the Lower Elementary School. It's come to the attention, I know it was brought up at the Budget Committee hearing, I think last week or the week before, regarding an engineering report where they were looking at the options to have the road entrance from the schools on, was it Rocky Hill by the transfer station over there, and the Budget Committee basically pretended like they didn't know about it or it hasn't been given to them or anything like that. I wanted to press the board to put pressure on to release that, and I think also that should be public information because it affects a lot of the people on that road over there in terms of traffic and stuff like that, and it changes the traffic patterns of the town significantly. The other thing I wanted to address was specifically the traffic patterns for the proposed expansion. The last expansion meeting, I didn't have an opportunity to say this because I didn't realize until I looked at it. A large portion of the traffic pattern that would be diverted because of the rerouting of the design, there was a very key element that I think was overlooked by the board and the people reviewing the design, was the fact that there's two chains that go behind the Lower Elementary School to protect the children when they're going to the playground back and forth and they're playing back there. Rightfully so, they should be out there to keep traffic from going through there. The problems with these changes, because they have the kids playing pretty much almost till dismissal in some cases, or 10-20 minutes before dismissal, those chains remain in place till about, I know when I picked up my daughter this afternoon, it was like 2:55 before they moved the chains, and that was part of the big issue with the reason congestion's backing up onto the road in front of the school. If we do the current proposed plan, that is not changing. That's still going to be an issue in terms of the road being backed up. If you notice, once those chains are removed, everyone pulls forward, and then at least the right side of that line for pickup there's no more traffic on that side. The left line still has traffic because it's curving around, but the right side doesn't. So I wanted to bring up that attention to the board just simply because that was a big thing of why the expansion was happening too, was to address those traffic concerns. The other thing I wanted to bring up to the board too, going over the enrollment numbers, we can see an increase, but my question is how much of that increase is because we've added pre-K to the school for, I believe we added it for early childhood intervention, if I'm correct. And then my question is too, is wouldn't it be a more cost-effective and effective for the kids approach to simply sub that out to other nearby specialty schools for that? For example, I believe on our website it has a price of about $16,000 it costs us per kid on average. Again, special education is probably a little bit higher than that because of the resources required. But if we just look at 5 schools, which I got this morning, nearby in Nashua, for example, Sunrise Children's Center, online they're quoted at $9,900 a year for preschool. That would save us about $6,000 a year just by doing that per kid. Nashua Center's 8 to 10K quoted over the phone. MACS, that's on Route 111, they're 8 to 11K. Waypoint, they were told me over the phone no more than $10,000 to $11,000 per kid. Looking at those details, I think it'd be better for the children to be in a specialized environment for that, and then it would allow more room in the school in terms of having those students going to, at least until they're in kindergarten or earlier, or rather later, having those kids go to a specialized school for that. And that would also save the school money because, again, we're spending on average $16,000 per kid, probably more for special education and early childhood intervention, where these schools are cheaper. They're probably more effective simply because that's what they do, and they're relatively nearby. Thank you.
Thanks for your input. I believe we're going to cover the parts about the school expansion during our enrollment committee update. For those watching and for our gentleman from the public who's here today, thank you again. Did you say Nikolai? Victor. Clearly I can't hear anything. I just gave you a new name, Victor. We don't always address public input when it's given. Sometimes it's part of what we're going to talk about. So I'll make sure that Anne touches on some of those traffic pattern things and the Rocky Pond thing. She took copious notes I watched. I don't believe we have a point in the agenda that's going to cover your point about pre-K, like your question about pre-K. I'm happy to touch on a couple of things for you. And I think that also Lauren can chime in with her position. It's
This one also directed to the FAQs on the page that's addressed.
okay. And Anne is mentioning, you can also just say, you can go to the FAQs about the HPS expansion because the pre-K situation is actually addressed in toto there.
So when
Come back, if you don't mind coming back to the podium so you're recorded.
So one of the reasons I was bringing that up was because the pre-K part was, I think they're using a hallway for a classroom or part of a hallway for, it's not good in terms of that situation. But one of the things for the expansion that was brought up was the expansion needs so we can have more classrooms, and I remember reviewing the plans regarding that. So you would accomplish that with the expansion. You would get more classrooms and you'd have more space. But just in general, regardless of the expansion or with the expansion, the early childhood intervention costs for pre-K seem to be relatively more expensive than what normal kids cost going to that school, simply because of the extra resources required for them. And then the fact that there's, like I said, that was just 5 schools within 10 miles of my house that I looked up. They can do it for approximately $6,000 less than what we pay on average. Again, I don't have the exact number for extra.
It might seem...
So it may seem that way. So I'm going to say one quick note and then I'm going to pass to Lauren for some detail. One of the things that some people kind of wonder, why are we inviting typical pre-K kids into the school?
Sure.
We're not making money from it. When you have a special needs or an intensive needs child, there's a requirement that you have a typical student 1-for-1. So we can't take out all of the typical learning pre-K students and only leave intensive needs, that doesn't meet requirements. So there will always be a one-to-one in those classrooms where it's required.
So what I'm, so
And then,
I agree with that, but even in that case, it'd still be cheaper for, if the school was providing any pre-K, it would still be cheaper to sub that out in terms of early childhood intervention and normal intervention. I mean, these schools specialize in that stuff.
Yeah, I really
We
think
don't have a state requirement for pre-K. I know in
We
the
do.
20 teens, they brought it to a vote for pre-K.
We do.
And the town voted against pre-K. So,
we do have a requirement.
just to save us the time, I really recommend and that we can address this further afterward. So in the June FAQ page on the Hollis Enrollment Committee website, if you go, actually the first question is why do we need to have a preschool? And it goes on for 3.5 to 4 pages of text explaining this scenario, which
I
has been
understand, yeah.
exhaustively addressed. So I just think that perhaps maybe
but,
read
I
through
mean,
that
even at the
first.
cost, we can simply have a preschool, have them enrolled here, and then we sub that out to those other schools. We have the
So-
ability to do that.
Yes, sir, I assure you, if it were that simple, we would do that. However, I do encourage you to read that. And then if we need at the enrollment community update, if you would like Lauren, who is our assistant superintendent of student services, this is her expertise. She could explain it further, but I do recommend that first you read that because that's a very thoroughly prepared response that I think will really enlighten you a little bit on the situation.
Sounds good. So we are going to defer the rest of the conversation to the enrollment committee
Absolutely.
portion, but thank you very much for your feedback, Victor.
Can,
I don't see any other members of the public right now who are prepared to speak. I will keep it open if anybody new arrives during the window. Moving on to our next item is our principals reports for HPS and Hughes.
Okay, so we'll start with enrollment. Enrollment is fairly steady. We saw a new pre-K student and a new kindergarten student. So HPS is up 2 students, and Hughes is totally stable. So that is great. Some highlights from the schools. This week, Ames Web winter testing begins at Hollis Primary. Don't forget on January 19th, there's no school for Martin Luther King Jr. Civil Rights Day. And January 21st is a public forum, Reimagining Hollis Primary School at 3:30, and that is at Hollis Primary School as well. So that's a good time to get updated information and share your thoughts and opinions. Some information about staffing and students. At Hollis Primary School, our first graders partnered with Paws to Give Back to collect for animals at local shelters. The first grade team does this every year to give back to our community. So it's a great lesson on community. Hollis Primary School and Hollis Upper Elementary. The entire staff of both schools attended part 3 of our behavioral training on the early release day back in December. So that was great, and that's actually SAU wide, so that's great. And then another exciting piece of information from Hughes is the Student Council hosted a movie party fundraiser where over 100 students attended, with many staff members volunteering their time. So this was a great way to demonstrate their leadership organizing this event. And that's what I have.
Awesome. Thank you, Gina.
Yeah.
All right, next up we have our discussion. First on there is our upcoming meeting date reminders. So here in Hollis, meeting season is a marathon, not a sprint. Our February meeting is actually a public hearing at Town Hall. We have a short meeting right before and a bond hearing, things like that, but we do not have this meeting traditionally on the first Wednesday of February. So we just wanted to highlight some of those dates that are coming up. So the public hearing and then the bond hearing for the HPS expansion are happening on February 10th at Town Hall at 6:30 p.m. You can see included in our agenda packet tonight is the PDF of all of those dates for Hollis as well as co-op, because we're part of that as well. And then the Hollis School District annual meeting will be at Hollis Brookline High School on March 17th. That's a Tuesday night at 7 p.m. We heard you guys loud and clear last year when we busted out of the middle school MPR and moved it to the high school. So we implore everybody to take a look at those dates. Again, it gets a little weird when you move into February and March because we have to hold the public hearings, so we don't have meetings as per usual. If you have any questions on that, feel free to reach out to the SAU or to any of the board members. Did anybody have anything they wanted to specifically point out with those meeting dates? Is that sufficient?
Yeah, that's great.
Perfect. And now we're moving to our next point is the FY26 revenue and expense report.
Okay, so taking a look at where we stand, it's not atypical this time of year. We're a little bit over in special ed, and that is due to contracted school psych. We still have the one contracted para, and then some placement changes for students that is causing us to be over a little bit. We have not yet encumbered the $95,000 contingency fund, so therefore there's an overage in school board SAU assessment. We don't have a reason to believe that we'll use the contingency this year, so that just falls to the bottom. We have some savings with some unfilled positions and some hiring savings, and we see significant savings in benefits, and that's due to plan selection by employees. So overall, that would bring us to an expense balance of $268,201 in the black, revenue balance of $47,668, leaving us with an unreserved fund balance of $315,869. In our budget, we are planning on having a warrant article for $125,000 to be contributed to the maintenance trust. That would be deducted from that $315,000. We also have to deduct the $23,970 for the SAU building trust. That's the rent to use the SAU building. And then we typically, in September, vote to have a retained fund balance. So if this is something that the board approves when there's better numbers after the audit, if we were to retain $166,899,000, that would bring us down to ending at zero. These numbers fluctuate quite a bit, especially in the spring. So I'm sure they'll trend in the positive direction, but that's where we are now.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yep.
Any questions, comments on that?
I thought we were past having contracted paras. I thought we had gone to non.
So as I mentioned the last time we saw this, we had one, and it was intentional based on the level of training that individual
Got
had.
it. Okay.
And we're hoping to move away, but at this time, it's just in everyone's best interest to maintain that stuff.
Okay, thanks.
Excellent.
It seems like it has been difficult. The school psychology position feels like
Yes.
it has been particularly difficult to fill. Is that true?
That is true, across the state.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, now we're going to move forward to our next item, which is the FY27 budget.
Okay. And
Round 4.
Round 4. So good news and bad news. Good news is December 31st at about noon, which is when the office closed, the business administrator and I were able to get the budget below guidance.
Oh, below what?
Below
Guidance.
guidance
Guidance.
offered by the budget committee. So that was good. But it took a lot to get there. So I'm going to share some of those changes from new items. Of course, it's so small, I can't even see.
I know I've zoomed in and I'm still
Very
like,
small.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so in terms of academics, there have been no further changes from the new items. From personnel, we have cut the vision benefit coverage by the district, so it'll still be available to staff, but fully at their cost. We have also cut the additional speech services that we were hoping to go from 0.8 to 1.0. We're going to continue to maintain what we've been doing this year.
is that the case manager? Listed as case manager?
Nope, that's the SLA.
HPS, the speech language assistant SLA.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I scrolled too far.
Forgive me, I'm trying to make sense of this. I only see rounds 1, 2, and 3. Is there actual?
4 is all the way to the right. Keep going.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep,
Yes.
keep going, and if you zoom in,
Thank
you can
you.
see 3 and 4.
That makes Yeah.
Assuming English is so small.
I know.
So we're on the
I think
second
we're in their
batch.
pie chart.
SLT.
We are.
Wearing
Yep,
my glasses.
got you. Thank you very much.
clear.
Okay.
And so another addition to round 4 was the reduction of 1.0 FTE of a classroom teacher at HPS. Just looking at the numbers currently enrolled and the switch from 18 students to 20 students, I believe that will be okay to maintain our board policy with that reduction right there.
18 to 20 students for what grade?
So when we go from first grade to second grade, the board specs go up to 20.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that a headcount reduction or just a not
Yep.
filling?
A head count reduction.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so looking at Hughes, we have the same reduction of the vision benefits. We also have reduced the increase in the occupational therapist. We've also reduced the increase in the case manager from 0.8 to 1.0. So both of those we're going to continue to muddle through, and hopefully we'll see those again next year as they are real needs.
Does that cause any issues for us in meeting IEPs?
No, we would never put the IB services in jeopardy. no.
Okay.
Part of it has to do with the way we are required to deliver services, especially to charter school students, and so we're utilizing time and money with the traveling of contracted folks from one building to the next. So we're going to rethink that a little bit and try to make it a little bit tighter. But you'll likely see them again next year. Another cut was a reduction in an instructional assistant of 0.6 FTE here at Hughes.
And the speech pathologist, we went down to half-time from full-time.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
That's okay.
Thank you.
So the instructional assistant was for what? Like just a,
What duties do they perform?
yeah,
So they are
it's very articulate of me. But
other duties as assigned. So they help the overall functioning of the school. So anything from copying to assisting in the classroom with supporting teachers. They're not directly tied as a paraprofessional. They're not tied to a student. They're more assisting in
Kind of general assistance.
day-to-day functioning. So we had 4 kindergarten instructional assistants for many years, and then we couldn't hire them. They were always pulled to become paras just due to legal needs and not being able to hire. So Hollis Primary has done without the instructional assistants for the past 4 years. When we were tightening up the personnel budget lines and identifying exact salaries rather than chunks of money, those 4 positions sort of disappeared. There was actually no money in the budget for them. So Hollis Primary School has been functioning without instructional assistants, and so I felt that we needed to address the disparity a little bit.
okay, thank you for that
Yep.
detail.
Yeah. Sorry, does that mean we're going from a 1.0 FTE to a 0.6?
No,
No,
there
we
are
were
2
going to add a 0.6 and now we're not.
Well, we have a 0.6 and the position is cut.
Okay.
There are 3 total people.
No, I
One's at
understand.
1.0
It was,
and then there are 2.6s.
the sheet didn't read as a reduction, it read as an addition, but then the
Oh,
dollar
there's a little
signs were
negative.
negative, so that's why I was trying to figure out
Yeah.
what I was looking at.
Yep. Sorry.
This, don't we need to hire another teacher in Hughes next year? Or maybe we don't.
We don't.
We don't.
No, because
Okay.
at Hughes we go up to 23.
Well, I was wondering because of the 4th grade situation right now.
Oh, that's so that doesn't involve an additional FTE.
Okay.
That person's on leave.
So that position is already
The position
budgeted
is in
for.
the budget, correct?
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Just because I know it's the first year you and the business admin are doing stuff, is it possible when it's a reduction in staff that we put like in parentheses or something, reduction or just something that it can read on the front line item that it's a removal, just to make it very clear?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it's always been like that, but we could change it.
You
We don't see a lot of reductions here.
Yeah, it
I
doesn't
was
happen
told we
often.
were improving the paperwork.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. So there's really nothing with new computer equipment. Replacement equipment is, those are replacement cycles, so if we cut from there, then the following year we just have to double up. And so that's a difficult one to cut from.
Can I ask a quick question
Sure.
on this? I think I might have jumped ahead, and I apologize for that. The new items all through rounds 1 through 4 had like iPads and stuff as 0.
Mm-hmm.
Why were they always at 0 again?
Oh,
They
so
still say 0.
so all the items that, and it funnels into a line item in the full spreadsheet of the budget. All of those items are in a replacement cycle. This year,
Thank
we
you.
didn't have any replacement
Thank you.
needs in iPads. So we keep it as is, just so you see what's in our cycle.
Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah. No, it's good. All right. So there have been no further cuts at HPS. And the only further cut in replacement computer equipment at Hughes was the Red Cat audio. And so that's the little microphone that the teachers wear in the classroom. And so those are for replacement parts that will be needed, but we can continue to find to piecemeal those. So we'll do that.
So would that likely get requested the following year?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, moving on. So I really didn't feel like I could cut the emergency lighting replacement. Those are pretty critical, and so I maintained those. Over in maintenance for HPS, there wasn't much left, but I did cut a floor machine. That will need, you'll see that again the following year.
I remember everybody was excited about the floor machine.
What was
I
that?
remember there was a whole conversation about the floor machine. People were very excited
It's like
about
the
that.
Zamboni.
It
of
is
school.
the Zamboni of
But we appreciate you moving that so we can meet guidance. So
Yeah.
that's great.
and
So
then
random question.
Mhm.
Can they use the one we're getting for Hughes? Can it be shared between the buildings at all?
so it's pretty difficult to transport.
I've assumed, but
yeah, I
just
mean,
wanted
it
to ask.
could be.
Because we kept that one, but didn't keep.
My hope was we were getting some new floors at HPS.
Oh. There you go.
I don't know. I really tried to balance the requests between the buildings, so that's why I left it at Hughes. All right, over at Hughes. So those blue items are items that I moved to the maintenance trust, and you'll see them again later. So let's skip through those and then go down to, actually nothing has changed between rounds 3 and 4 at Hughes. All right, so all right, so looking at the operating budget, it's $18,417,465. The HESA, year 2 of HESA is $198,801. The SAU assessment, that is the Hollis portion of the SAU budget, is $827,498. We're looking to request a contingency fund of $95,000 through taxation. That is typically how it is funded in Hollis. The maintenance trust at $125,000, and then the SAU trust at $23,970. And I wish I could pretend like I could read that. $19,687,743, I believe it is, as the total warrant. Just to go through the maintenance expendable trust. So the request is to add $125,000, and I'm looking to utilize that fund to fund classroom flooring phase 5, fund the basketball court hoop replacement at Hughes, fund the paving up at Hughes, fund the removal of the sponge spruce, the soundproofing, and redo the walls in the conference room over here at Hughes, and then phase 3 of a cabinet replacement cycle at Hughes. And that adds up to $125,000.
And the classroom flooring is Hughes as well.
Yes,
correct?
all of these
Yeah.
are Hughes. Yeah, perfect. So those are the new items. The full budget is, line by line. They're color coded for when there's an increase or a decrease. As I've mentioned a few times before, though, some of these items some of these line items are just shifts of things from one line to another to make it clearer in the future.
Before we hop
Yep.
spreadsheets for a second, Can you explain what the stipend increases line item is under the academics?
On the new items,
Yes, I think it's
the
under
one
new
that I
items.
cut.
Yeah, the 4-column.
Okay, so school buildings do not run without teachers taking on leadership positions. And so when they become the team leader for grade 2 or the MTSS coordinator for the school, they are given a stipend. You know, if you are doing the yearbook with students, you're given a stipend. These stipends have not changed in well over a decade, and the willingness of our teachers to step up and spend their time to do this is it's a challenge. So we need to increase the stipends to pay them appropriately.
Okay. The only reason I bring it up is because of all the items I was looking up down the list, and I'm not trying to downplay what the teachers are doing. The stipends was a $6,000 line item. I've been listening to how much we need a floor machine at HPS at $1,500, and I've been trying to figure out if the
It's
stipend.
$7,500
Yeah, 70.
Oh, it's 7,500.
Yeah.
Well above it. Okay. I misread the numbers then.
because it's so tiny.
I know. I know. But that was why I was asking, was just that, like, okay, if it had been what I was thinking, then it's like, okay, they could still have stipend without. So, okay.
Yeah.
Nope, that was it. Thank you.
Also, Hughes's floor machine is a year older than the floor machine at HPS. So, because Hughes piloted the floor machine, the new model, the new one that's now a decade old. But the very first one is up here, so it makes sense to replace it first. Okay. So anyway, moving on down to the very bottom here, looking at round FY27 round 4 of the spreadsheet, you can see that guidance $18,424,276. We're bringing it in at $18,417,465.51 for a whopping $6,810.49 below guidance, which was a magical number to get to, knowing that about a month ago we were at about 500,000 over guidance.
Please forgive me. I'm trying, okay, so here
The
we are
very
at the
bottom
bottom.
of this, the long
Where do
spreadsheet.
I find operating guidance? Okay, hold on. So the guidance set by
The
the
budget
budget
committee.
committee is the 18,424,276. Is that what
Mhm.
Correct.
Budcom? Okay, and we have the 18,417. Okay, all right. Hey, good job.
You and Lance, man.
Good job. That's, I mean, it took a while to get there, but you got there.
At the 11th hour.
Thank you. Look, thank you for doing that, because
like
it's
happy to
it's
be-
tough to pick and choose those things. I mean, I feel like in the project we've been working on, I've only gotten a tiny window into how hard it is to do those things, and it's a lot of work. And I'm sure that budget committee is going to really appreciate the effort, and we like to keep Budcom happy. So, thank you.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. None of the requests were superfluous. You
Yeah.
know, they are all in need. The question is, can we make it through one more year? We really
Yeah.
wanted to respect the -2% that the guidance, -2% guidance that the BudCon gave us, knowing that we have a really big ask for the expansion.
Yep.
And that is absolutely a need. So,
Yeah, it's hard to, when everything is getting more expensive, it's hard to make the school budget less expensive. It's hard to make our budget smaller when everything is getting more expensive. And also, we are making a big ask with the expansion. So it's a reasonable ask for the Budcom, and also it was a hard ask. And so you and Lance worked really hard, Gina.
Yeah, nice work. Thank you, Lance. You're not here to receive our thanks, so hopefully you hear it. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. I also wanted to reiterate my appreciation for it, especially because a large portion is salaries and benefits, like a lot of things that you can't do any modifications to. So it's especially difficult. I did, because I was looking at the guidance documents as they evolved from like November. It was probably like round 2 to round 3 to round 4. Part of the complication is the guidance base, and then adding in like costs like the various special education costs, where you end up with that total of the 18.4 million. So that number moved around a lot. So this most recent, in terms of the, I believe the base of the operating, the guidance base of the operating budget, that was a reduction of somewhere around like $366,000, so very large. And then on top of that, I think, based on what the last guidance document I had saw in December, it looked like what special ed costs were predicted at that time also went down. Is that accurate? Like in the realm of like a couple
Yes.
$100,000? Okay. Just wanted to verify that. All right. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Raf. Any other comments, questions on budget?
Yeah, am I reading correctly that under the transportation section, we've just removed the retirement benefit?
Can you
It's
show
on
me?
the second to last page.
Okay, so there's a retirement benefit.
Yeah.
That if a teacher if they've met, every district is different. So 15 years of service, 20, whatever it is for Hollis, and they notify us that their intent to retire June 30th. If they notify us by December 1st, then they're eligible for a retirement benefit payout that happens on July 1st. We did not have any teachers let us know that they're retiring. So therefore, we had it in the budget originally because the contract I think says that it's we limit to 4 teachers.
Sure.
So we budgeted for 4.
Got it.
And then once we heard none, that was an easy cut.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just was trying to
Yeah.
translate what the
Yeah.
line item was for.
There are a lot of nuances that going
Yeah.
line by line, trying to really understand what's in every.
I think this is
Well-
the 4th or 5th time I've read this spreadsheet in one form or another between BudCom and some of the other things. And it's like, it's hard to understand where it's coming from and why.
For sure. Awesome. Thanks for the hard work. Our next discussion item is our warrant.
Yes. And I just realized that the changes were the ones that were posted. So I'm trying to fix that. So I apologize, it's messy. I'll clean it up and get a clean copy up there. So Article 1 would be the bond vote. So that language comes to us from bond council. The one thing that was added was the year 1 payment of $484,609. 3/5 vote ballot vote required, etc. So there's not a whole lot of wiggle room with the language here in this warrant article. The one question, and I don't know if you want to look at it now or if you want to look at it when we have the enrollment committee update, is we need to determine if we want a 20, 25, or 29-year bond.
I didn't know we had
Did
a
the
25.
budget committee give any
So yes,
input on that?
we at the
Sorry, I
time
was
we
there for
shared a 20 and a 29-year option, and there were a lot of really valid reasons to go with a 20-year because you save quite a bit in interest, millions of dollars in interest. And then there were some very valid reasons about going with a 29-year, and it has to do with the number of families that would benefit from the expansion. So spread that cost amongst families that are here now, but also those that will be moving in the next 29 years. And so there wasn't really, I didn't get a clear idea of if they wanted 20 or 29, but they said, well, let's see 25. And so I also have 25 here, and it's, as you would imagine, in the middle. And I wonder if I feel like that's the one I would recommend because it's kind of balances out those two concerns. It averages out the amount of interest you'd pay if the 29-year bond has a much higher interest rate as you
Just
go down.
overall?
Overall, yeah.
Okay.
And those are also on the documents that are uploaded.
Okay.
But
It doesn't have in the language of the
No.
the warrant, the article,
which one? No.
which one is it supposed to? Does that,
No.
I don't
we
see
never
it,
put
like-
it in, right?
No, and one of the reasons why is so in about 2 weeks or so, we'll have the January bond sale, and that would be a different interest rate. And so we would use that as a best, as our best information that when we present it to the town but really, we would be going for the July sale, which is even further out, and that's not available to us until July. So we're using the best information we have available to us. But in general, a 20-year bond is going to have a lower interest rate than a longer-term bond.
So it's a $5.3 million difference between the 20 and the 29 cents. So that's what led to a lot of the debate at budget committee,
Yeah.
and it was kind of a split.
Yeah, that's a
of
huge
opinions.
amount of money.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll take a look at that maybe during discussion of the project. All right, moving on. I believe there was a change in the RSA, so the SAU budget is required to be the first on the warrant other than bonds. So I had originally had it as Article 3, but it needs to be Article 2. And so this is standard boilerplate language that we see every year. Shall the school district vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $827,498 as the Hollis School District's portion of the SAU budget of $2,560,328 for the forthcoming fiscal year. This year's adjusted budget of $2,540,642 with $821,135 assigned to the school budget of this school district will be adopted if the article does not receive a majority vote of all school district voters voting in the school administrative unit. So that's an article that really people can speak to, but nothing can be amended, and that would be a ballot vote as well.
Can I have a quick clarification, go back for Article 1? Just real quick. So we have the number in here for the first debt service payment, but we haven't selected which bond it is.
Correct.
So won't that number fluctuate?
It does not. It's the exact same number, which I thought was interesting until I thought about it. It has to be the exact same number because we have to authorize a payment without knowing
How about
the full
yeah.
extent of the bond. So that's how I justified it in my mind. But if you look at the 20, 25, and 29, that first payment is exactly the same to the penny.
Okay, that makes sense. I just
Sort of.
But
There
they
was
couldn't
that
make it
weird,
just
like-
500,000. It has to be,
Right.
yeah. Very exact. down
I don't
to the-
question banks if they're on the like, great, the first payment's the same across the board.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I missed that before.
I just thought that was really weird.
Yeah, thanks.
But then I thought maybe I was supposed to know that already. Anyway.
It's always that amount.
Yeah. Moving on to Article 3. So this is to see if the school district will vote to approve the cost items included in Year 2 of the 3-year collective bargaining agreement reached between the Hollis School Board and the Hollis Education Support Staff Association for the 26-27 school year, which calls for the following increase in support staff salaries and benefits at the current staffing levels. Fiscal year 26-27, estimated increase $198,801. And further, to raise and appropriate the sum of $198,801 for the second year, 26-27, such sum representing the negotiated increase over the 25-26 salaries and fringe benefits. So this is exactly as it was presented last year, but the contract is not standardized, so therefore we have to bring it forward to the voters every year. Okay, so you can see in Article 4, this is legal counsel going from last year's version to this year's version, but it's pretty much the same. So to see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate this up to the sum of $23,970 to be added to the previously established maintenance expendable trust fund for the administrative and associated structures at 4 Lund Lane in Hollis, map 56, lot 2. This sum to come from the Hollis School District's June 30th, 2026 unassigned fund balance available for transfer on July 1, 2026. No amount to be raised by additional taxation. So once again, that's one that can't be amended, as it's just the transfer of the funds to the SAU trust. All right, Article 5. To see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate up to the sum of $125,000 to be added to the previously established school buildings expendable maintenance trust fund. This sum to come from the Hollis School District's June 30th, 2026 unassigned fund balance available for transfer on July 1st, 2026. No amount to be raised by additional taxation. So that is the maintenance trust, as we discussed already. Article 6 is the contingency. To see if the school district will vote to establish a contingency fund for the current year for unanticipated expenses that may arise, and further to raise and appropriate the sum of $95,000 to put into the fund. This sum to be raised by taxation. Any appropriation left in the fund at the end of the year will lapse to the general fund. Okay, so this is the new the new warrant article that is what we really need to discuss as a board. So,
Have we discussed this before? I don't recall.
no,
doing so.
I discussed it with board chairs.
Okay.
All right, so open enrollment. This was something that
Yeah.
moved, had some traction last year. It did not pass, but there's certainly more discussion. In a district, a family sent the students to another school district, an open enrollment school district, and that open enrollment school district then billed the quote-unquote sending school, even though the school didn't send the child. In court, it was upheld that the district was responsible for paying the other district back. So, many school districts are looking to officially move forward with very specific language around open enrollment. So we have language, and we can talk about how we feel, but given our enrollment concerns, I didn't feel that we were in a place now to accept multiple students from other districts, as we hardly have room for our own. And the liability of allowing students to go to other districts and then be faced with a bill that we didn't budget for also didn't seem like that allowed for budget stability. So, RSA 194D allows students to transfer between districts unless local limits are set by voter action. The article would protect the school district from unintended financial impacts under this new law, preserves enrollment and budget stability. It protects staffing and programs that we've developed and invested in, and it ensures local control. So the language is, shall the Hollis School District vote to adopt an open enrollment school program designating both Hollis Primary School and Hollis Upper Elementary School as open enrollment schools pursuant to New Hampshire RSA 194D for the purpose of enabling the district to admit up to 0 non-resident students to HPS and Hughes, and further to limit the number of resident pupils permitted to attend open enrollment schools located outside of the district to 0% of the district's total enrollment.
Effectively, we're adopting it to lock out.
Correct. Or you can tell me that the board wishes something else.
I like it how it is.
I think this is the only way to be consistent with the enormous ask we're making in Article 1.
Yeah, I don't think we can, I think just from being fiscally prudent, I think we can't, like, the financial risk of open enrollment is enormous. And so this is what's financially prudent.
I think the reality is that the rest of New Hampshire, schools are struggling with enrollment. So maybe this would make sense for them.
Mm-hmm.
But we are an exception to that generalization, and so it was just not feasible. It would cause too many unknowns. I think we're all in agreement. Thank you for bringing it to us like this, because it makes it easy, I think, for us to be in agreement on it.
And I think just if we can share this, Gina, each of the 3 districts within SAU 41 are making their own decision on how to handle this.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a Hollis School District only language.
And you are the first to see it, so it'll go to the other boards in their January meetings. So you're the first to make a decision.
Theirs could be different,
Theirs could be different.
where they could allow so many in but none out, that kind of thing.
Yeah, nope, I was going to say something, but actually, nope, I do not have a note. We're good.
Okay.
She's like, yes, no.
So to clarify on the 0% of the district's total enrollment, that means that it's not just that they wouldn't be able to bill us, it's that they would be blocked from going to an open enrollment.
Correct.
district.
Under open enrollment, they could still try to go, it just wouldn't be
There are
under
other
that
avenues.
program. Yeah.
But this avenue of open enrollment would be closed.
What are the other avenues? Like, I mean, obviously they could go to a charter school, or they could go to a private school, obviously, but they
So there's
could go
always
someplace that-
a best interest
tuition.
request or manifest hardship.
Yeah.
So there are a couple of different nuances that they could they could pay to tuition their child into
That was
another
what I was
district.
thinking.
We don't even have that option in JFAB. Brookline and the co-op have options to tuition, where families can apply for admission and tuition at full per pupil expenditure, but Hollis does not. So I thought this was consistent with the policy.
Any other questions on this Article 7? All right. Article 8.
May I ask a question? This is the only one that says the finance committee as opposed to the
Oh,
budget committee.
that's-
Why is that?
That's because I wrote it that way. It's supposed to be
Oh,
budget.
okay, it is. I was just wondering if there was another
Thank you.
committee I wasn't aware of.
No, thank you. I was really
Surprise!
focused on.
No, you never know.
No, I was so focused on
3 years
every
on the
other
board, you know,
word
there's
that-
still surprises.
So funny. Well, I think the Brookline has a finance
Correct.
committee.
Ah, okay.
So she uses a lot of different
Oh,
terms and the
understandable.
different.
Yes, okay, yes, that makes sense. That
She's
makes
keeping
sense.
us on our toes.
Gotcha.
All right, moving on
Article
to
8.
Article 8, to see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $18,417,466 for the support of schools, for the payment of salaries for the school district officials and agents, and for the payment of statutory obligations of the district. This appropriation does not include appropriations voted in other warrant articles. So that, other than A and the dollar amount, that has not changed in years past. It's the same language. One thing that I just thought might be helpful to note is Article 1. If the Budget Committee does not recommend this article, we would have to include language identifying that the total request is beyond 10% of what the Budget Committee has recommended.
Has
Say
the
that
budget
again?
committee given us a recommendation number?
No.
No, okay. So you're just, if
I'm
that
just
should
letting you
happen
know.
in
For the
February.
bond article?
It'll say passage of this article shall override the 10% limitation imposed on this appropriation due to the non-recommendation of the Budget Committee. I'm not saying that they're saying that they won't recommend it, but after our public hearing on February 10th, if they don't recommend it, then we'll have to amend the language to include that.
And I believe, nope, leave it for later.
Okay. So that is the proposed warrant. Like I said, I apologize. I don't love tracked changes. And so when it was fine until I saved it as PDF, and then it was uploaded, and I will fix that. So
No, this is fine. I actually kind of like seeing what
Okay.
was
Last year
changed
versus this
and
year?
why.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
sometimes it's a little bit harder to read. But anyway, so that's that.
Excellent.
If there's no feedback or concerns or recommended changes other than Finance Committee, I will move this forward, share it with the Budget Committee, and that is what we'll see at our hearing.
Yep. And just to piggyback on what she's saying about the hearing, so our hearing will start at 6:30, as we mentioned at the top. As a board, we meet right before it, so we'll meet at 6 o'clock simply to go through and log our votes for each of these articles. Right, so once and then we move into the public hearing.
Can I clarify your last comment, Gina?
Mm-hmm.
If the finance committee does not, excuse me, if
Budget.
the budget committee does not recommend Article 8,
Article 1.
Article 1.
It just,
It was
reading
the bond
Article 8
article
reminded
that she
me
went
of,
back to. So if they do not recommend that, there's like an automatic language that you have to put in that says it exceeds the 10%.
if the budget committee doesn't recommend Article 1,
Correct.
then Article 1 will be amended to add language saying that it exceeds the 10%.
okay, and that's nothing about Article 8.
Correct.
No, I
I just
apologize.
reminded her she wanted
Okay.
to mention
Yeah.
that part.
Thank you.
Where does
Okay.
10% come from?
The law.
Oh, okay.
Not laughing at you, just the answer.
Nice.
Yeah, I thought maybe she would. Yeah, no.
And I do, before I move to the next, did anybody have any more warrant questions?
Can I add one piece about the budget hearing?
I'll allow it.
If we're moving forward, which I feel we are, with the open enrollment article, that requires a separate public notice. We can do it the same night as the bond hearing and the budget hearing, But don't be confused when you see 3 notices for the same night, because we have to notice the bond separately from the budget, separately from open enrollment. But they'll be posted, consecutively.
Yep.
Where?
Thank you.
So we have to, put them on the doors. We have to publish them on the website, and we put them in the newspaper, which is so readily
Newspaper.
available. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a newspaper?
So they go in the Union Leader.
Yep.
The Union
Leader.
Leader.
out of
Union
Manchester. Union
Yep.
Leader.
Oh,
It hasn't died yet. It's been around still. So
I've only been here for 3.5 years. I didn't know it existed.
Well, you
Oh,
wouldn't
yes.
have. You would probably look, if anything, the Nashua Telegraph, but the Nashua Telegraph isn't.
It's like, is it once a week now?
Yeah, it's not often enough to be able to be used, so it has to be a daily or something like that. So we have to do it in the Union Leader.
And it's quite
which has been
expensive.
around forever.
It
at
is,
this point.
yes, but not as expensive and annoying as it was for when we put a notice in.
And then they didn't run it, and then it totally screwed up all of the timing for public hearings for a previous bond a bunch of years ago.
Ouch.
So that was, we'll pay the extra to make sure it actually gets
Right.
posted. I wanted to take a quick second to just formally close public input. Nobody else has come in. It is 7 p.m. at this time. All right, and our next item here, we've got the enrollment committee update.
Okay, so, the enrollment committee last met on December 17th. And at that time, it's just some noteworthy things that we discussed was we did talk about the amortization schedules that were presented to BudCom on December 9th, but at that time was just the 20 and 29 years, so looking forward to seeing what Gina has for the 25 year. Basically the impression of the committee was similar to what Gina was expressing. We had the comments from Rafi about how BudCom discussed it. We were all kind of taken aback by the huge difference in cost between the 20 and the 29 year. But it is an interesting argument. Everyone agreed that the 20 years seems to put the burden on who's living here right now versus who will be benefiting most from it. So it's a delicate balance. We did not try to come up with an answer to it. We just kind of were informed. We talked about the December 4th public forum, which happened after our last school board meeting. We got some very positive feedback about it. That was the public forum where we had all of our engineers present, in addition to Banwell Architects, and they had a very clear and thorough presentation. We had some good attendance. Most notably, we had some attendance from some local publications, from Positively Hollis and from Hollis Brookline Online, which is great. And so both of those will be putting forth more articles about our project. So we are really pleased with that. We also found some documents that we had been looking for a while, and so I just want to thank Lance and Gina and anyone else who worked on this, but we finally found the septic plans to the Hollis Primary School septic. It's still not 100% certain because it wasn't certified by the state, so we know something else exists somewhere, but the state doesn't even have it. But it's definitely old and needs to be replaced. We had questions about class size policy, and so Gina magically found
I will say found.
Dot. Thank you, Dot.
Yeah, Dot.
The minutes from November 14th, 2012, when that was discussed, and that's not even when it was finally decided upon. But I think it is noteworthy that the reason why that came up was because it was proposed, and just correct me if I'm wrong here, Gina, it was proposed that in order to meet guidance, a teacher be cut. And so the town came out in droves and was against this and was like, you know what, we need to talk about class sizes because that would affect our class sizes, and this is important. And residents came and spoke passionately. They quoted research. And it was very clear that it wasn't, even the language was discussed about target class sizes versus caps, and the residents were clear they wanted caps, and the caps were exactly what we have now. Now, the policy, I think, at some point does need to be revisited because some of the laws that are referenced in the policy no longer exist. So we might have to revisit the policy, but I think it's noteworthy that it was the community that really wanted this. And I think that if it were to go out to the community again, the community would continue to support the special situation that we have in Hollis, where we're able to give our kids a wonderful education. And as Mrs. Bickey often discusses, our classroom sizes are very different. There's a huge variability in the size of these classrooms, and we need to have caps so that we don't have inequitable situations from one classroom to the next within the same grade level. So all these numbers are thoughtful. The 18 came from a specific study, the STAR study. So anybody who wants to learn more about that can go to our minutes from December 17th. It's all linked in. We have our compliance officer, Emmy White, created a Hollis Primary School expansion page that is linked to the enrollment committee website. It's also linked. There's one where to go onto the Hollis Primary School website and scroll down to news and events. There is a direct link to the page there as well. We're trying to make
Pops
this
up when you
information.
visit.
Yes, we talked about making it pop, making it more visible, having more information readily available so it's not hard to find. On the enrollment committee page, we have like a brief history of the committee so that anybody who is curious can quickly get a snapshot and always go back for more information later. So all
And
these
per,
things were
and per our
discussed.
public input feedback tonight, the concerns that the gentleman raised are all actually addressed on that FAQ page.
For
with-
the most part, they are. I am going to address some of the things he said specifically, and I think that Gina and Lauren can as well.
Right. But in
and-
terms of like looking at pre-K, I think was specifically what I was
Absolutely.
talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that anybody listening, I really would encourage anybody to come to our public forum. Gina already mentioned that that's on January 21st at 3:30 at Hollis Primary School. The enrollment committee is meeting very briefly for 15 minutes before that, just to approve some minutes and answer some questions, and then we're on to the public forum. But we also have some informal sessions scheduled at the Hollis Social Library. So on January 20th at 11 a.m. in the meeting room, just a casual Q&A. People can come in and ask questions. We'll have the poster boards there. And the exact same thing is going to be available on Saturday, February 7th at 11:30 at the Hollis Social Library.
February what?
7th.
7th.
And we will be advertising this in the places that we usually do around town, at Marketplace Diner, Town Hall, the library. Lowell Farm has a community board, and then I'll be posting them again on some Facebook community pages and the Hollis Primary School Instagram page as well. Emmy just made us a flyer, which she sent out today, the final version of that we'll be putting out. Also, we got a great suggestion at our public forum on December 4th to put out a mailer to the town, just like a postcard with just some basic information, QR code. It was Emmy's idea to put in a tiny URL, because I was concerned not everybody would know how to use a QR code. I only recently learned because I'm old. So she did that for us. So we just approved that, and so she's looking into ordering those. So those will go to every home in Hollis. That comes from the budget from warrant Article 6. We did a great job budgeting that. If anyone wants to know how that has been spent, that is on the enrollment committee page as well. So yeah, just the big thing right now is getting the word out. So I really am grateful to Mr. Orlando, who came today and spoke during public input. I appreciate anybody in town, we all do, who is interested in the project, wants to learn more, and of course, if someone hasn't been following this for 2 years, and that is how long this has been going on, it is hard to know everything.
Even longer that we've been talking about it.
That we've been talking about it even longer, yes. And the committee has only been around for 2 years, but still 2 years. That's a lot. Not everybody has been around for all of that, so I completely understand. To address the first concern that Mr. Orlando asked about, and I anticipate other residents has heard rumblings of this as well. The reason why the budget committee, and Gina, correct anything that I say wrong here, may have acted as if they didn't know about this, or that there hasn't been any public information, is because we are not proposing this. It is not an official proposal. It's not something we are actively pursuing. It has been a part of an exploratory exercise to determine whether or not it is possible to have another egress from the Hollis Upper Elementary School. And that is something that our emergency services personnel in town have been in support of for safety reasons. Obviously for traffic, it would be helpful if it can be done. We don't even have that answer yet. So that is why once we know whether or not it's possible, we will go through the proper avenues to inform the town, talk with budget committee, select board, etc. But it is not something that's being proposed at this time, and is not part of the expansion project. Did I get everything right, Gina?
You are correct.
Woohoo! I listen. As far as the traffic pattern, I think that would be best answered by our engineers, and I would like to, if Mr. Mr. Orlando, if you're listening, and anybody else who's interested, I think going to the video on the SAU website of the December 4th meeting would probably be the best course of action, because our engineers talked about those traffic patterns pretty extensively. But I would encourage anyone to send us an email with those questions. We can forward them to our engineers and get that answer. But in the meantime, I will make sure that for the annual meeting, we have a comprehensive answer prepared for that to address that specific concern.
Yeah, I will just say that certainly the building level admin will certainly have the best plan in place to address that. But one of the huge concerns that we have right now is that we cannot run specials the same time we're running any of our lunches. So therefore, the entire schedule of the building is determined around lunch. And so it pushes our specials to the beginning and the end of the day, which has our students outside later than we would ideally have them outside. So with the proposed plan, that allows a whole lot of flexibility with the schedule, and I don't think we'd actually see the same concern of needing the chains up until the very end of the day. So
Also, more space is created in the plan to expand that loop.
Yep.
Which may not be immediately obvious to a layman's eye, like just looking at these very, right now they're rudimentary plans. We'll be getting something much more detailed, as, there's more of a budget for it.
Well, they did at that meeting in December talk specifically, like they outlined how many cars are available to go until a certain point, right, with the fire lane and things like that. So there is good detail already in the rudimentary plans.
Yes, and rerouting the buses also helps with that tremendously. So many factors have been taken into account to address what Mr. Orlando sees every day, and he's not wrong in what he sees and what many of us see. But I think Gina's point and going to that December 4th meeting can be helpful. As far as the pre-K, as I said, I do want to correct myself. I misspoke. I thought that it was pages going on in the FAQ. It actually was the next question. So it is one full page that Lauren wrote for us. And I think it might be easier just if somebody has a question to write to you specifically.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it might seem as though it costs less, but we would also have to provide transportation, and every child has different needs that have different costs.
Yeah,
Am
I can just
correct?
briefly explain that piece. So you may have a base tuition of $10,000, let's say, at a different placement. But exactly what you're saying, we have to provide the transportations and any other IEP services that are included in the student's plan. So that may be speech services, occupational therapy services, which are not necessarily housed in those placements. We would have to contract and provide those providers to that placement. So you're paying for their travel costs, you're paying for their time, you're paying for those services. Whereas here, we have speech pathologists, occupational therapists on staff who work with all of our students pre-K through 3. So right there you have built-in cost savings because you have the sharing of those resources in-house. Even any other services that we need to bring in here are shared accordingly across the grade levels. So it's not just the base tuition.
And wasn't the decision made to have the preschool at the Hollis Primary School specifically because of the cost savings, because we used to tuition the kids out, and it was found that we are saving money by doing this. So it's something that we actually have already tried.
Correct, exactly. Yeah, about 15, 16 years ago was when the district decided to bring preschool in-house for cost savings as well as other developmental benefits to the students for being in their home district and being with their own peers. There's those pieces as well, but the cost savings is definitely a piece of that. The other piece that people may not understand is that some of these placements that have been mentioned may not be able to support different levels of needs of students, and so we may have to look at even more intensive outside placements, which may be further away, which would then be higher transportation costs as well as higher tuition. So it's not just that base amount, because not every placement can serve every student, where we have the ability to design and build our programs to meet the needs of all of our students.
And also the point that pre-K taking up classrooms, I think it is also noteworthy, and this has been discussed at length in our enrollment committee meetings, at these meetings, and I'd be happy to reiterate anything for anyone, but that alone does not solve our problem. There's what Gina just brought up, and then of course, there's classroom spaces that are taken up for many other services that we have to provide that we haven't had to in the past. I think it is noteworthy also, I know if we brought this up, we may have, that we did some work on a movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but we're famous over here. So, just keep your eye out. We did get the draft for the 6-minute movie that it was professionals through EEI that did the filming for us, that kind of capture the challenges. As Mrs. Bicky is highlighted primarily on it, but Gina's on, Lance, myself, and of course the cramped school, the traffic, etc. So that will be playing at the annual meeting. Am
Yes,
I right?
we'll probably share it beforehand as well, as soon as we get the final copy.
Correct. And also on that light, I forgot to mention, we had a resident come to our enrollment committee meeting who was at the public forum and got very excited about the project and offered his services. He works for promoting different types of social media through another major organization, and so offered his services free of charge. And so he has been working with me, and primarily with Paula Isbicki, on creating some short films, memes, etc., to put out on the school Instagram, on Facebook pages for the town, etc. So those things will be coming out, just to kind of get some sound bites to educate the public. So we're excited about that, and we really appreciate that another resident of Hollis was interested in coming out and helping with the project.
Awesome.
Thank you, Anne. Any questions for Anne?
Yeah, I have a question popped in my head recently about the timing of bond versus timing of construction. If the bond is approved and the bond sale happens in the summertime, the construction starts earlier, is that normal for?
Yes, and we can get what's called a bridge loan. It's like a short-term loan, so that we can start April with everything, and then as soon as the bond is funded, the first payment is to pay off the short term.
Got it. Thanks.
Yep. But also in the revised version, I was very excited to see without the vehicular bridge, which is one of my favorite words now. Without the vehicular bridge, we really shortened the timeline of the work, and we would be able to begin this summer. Yeah.
Yeah, by 1 full year.
Yeah.
It would be done 1 full year sooner. At a significant cost savings.
Yeah.
Very awesome. Thanks for all your work. Continued. Appreciate you. Our next point of discussion is Town of Hollis Capital Expenditure Advisory Committee. Ravi, Zach, to you.
Okay. Mark Koss, the chair of the committee, presented to the select board back in December. He's going to be presenting again to the select board with latest updates to the consolidated spreadsheet on January 26th, I believe, is the select board meeting. And just to give an update on some of the more recent information updates, the town is, I believe, bringing 2 bonds one for solar on a DPW building, and the other one is the big one, the transfer station wall reconstruction. So that one will be a big one because that is at around 2.3 million as a 15-year bond. So those are just some of the bigger ones. Some other items are still obtaining we're still waiting on some information, but those are the big ones that we know about. And just big picture in terms of how capital looks in the coming years. The big, we are forecasting like big jumps in fiscal year 27 and 28, where for fiscal year 27 it's coming primarily from town and co-op, because, and this is all predicated based on things getting approved at the various annual meetings. So if based on that things get approved, the school district wouldn't be contributed as much to the jump in 27 because that first initial payment is smaller for the total amount for that year is smaller than the second year in which we're paying, where it's 2 payments, and so that's where it's the big amount. And so for fiscal year 28, that's where we would see a jump coming more from our district and from the town. And then there are some more updates coming in from co-op, and once those are in, then I believe I'll be able to send out the spreadsheet to our committee so that you can get eyes on it based on our upcoming meetings. I don't know when the next agenda with items attached to it available to have that for the community as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Degra. Any questions, comments for Raph?
Cool. All right, we're moving into our deliberations portion, and our first item is to see what action the board will take regarding the HESA negotiating team appointments. HESA, if you recall, those negotiations were completed last year, but there was a caveat. We discussed this in December. There was a caveat to reopen negotiations if the health insurance jumped too high, and that is what happened. So we're going to be reopening those negotiations. Our team that negotiated the HESA contract a year ago was Ann Wake de Pasquale, as with member Amy Kellner, who is now on the co-op board. And so it was asked of me to appoint 2 members to participate on this negotiation team. I've asked Ann to resume her role. She has that situational knowledge, and I've also asked Jess to participate with her on this negotiating team. So I will accept a motion to approve the appointment of Ann Wake de Pasquale and Jessica Lehens as the board representatives to the Hollis Education Support Staff Association HESA negotiating team.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I had a question around when the negotiations would be occurring, knowing that, and if I recall, your term is ending after the end of this chunk, right?
Yes.
So
My
I was trying to figure out how that would end up working out timeline-wise.
I think the objective was fast.
It's going to be happening within the month.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. This isn't a full renegotiation of everything.
Mm-hmm.
There are specific parts that it's
Just health
limited to.
It's just one piece.
So it's not the full gamut.
Yeah, I just
that is
didn't know
normally
when
afforded.
time frame we were talking about there.
Yep. Good question. Okay. Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, let's take a vote. All those in favor? 5-0-0. Welcome aboard. Thanks for your
Thank you, Jess.
volunteer service.
Thank you.
Now we're moving into policies. So as is the case, we provide a policy memo as part of the packet, but we do take votes on those policies individually. First one up is policy JLCF. I'll accept a motion, or I'll take a motion to accept the third reading and adopt policy JLCF wellness.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
discussion?
So this is the third reading of this policy. No major changes since you have seen it last. And was this the policy that you had maybe had some grammatical changes, or was that a?
I had a few for, I have to go back to the email I sent you,
JLC.
but it, that was one of them.
Yeah.
There, nothing of consequence that changes content at all. It's like some comma places.
Yep, so we can change those.
Nothing we really need to discuss.
I also wanted to add that this went to the Wellness Committee. It was reviewed and approved.
It was reviewed and what? Approved?
And they had no recommended changes.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, any other questions, comments on JLCF?
Seeing none, all those in favor of accepting the third reading and adopting JLCF? 500. Our next is a second reading. I'll take a motion to accept the second reading, waive the third, and adopt policy BGAA, policy development, adoption, and review.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
So we're just trying to sort of like move policies through, knowing that there's, you know, a slate that can come through in the spring. This is again the policy that we talked about last time. It's just formalizing what we already do in Hollis, which is saying that we have a policy committee that develops and reviews policy, and that is the process that we use to create and review policy.
Excellent. Questions, comments?
Just a very minor thing for F. There's just an extra line there to minor revisions.
Thank you. We will make that grammatical change.
Says JLCD. Are we on JLCD? Is that what we're doing? No. We're doing
BGAA.
BGAA. Okay, didn't have anything for BGAA. Wait, I did, but again, they're really tiny.
Yep, I
Yep.
have your notes.
All right, any other comments, questions?
Seeing none, all those in favor of accepting the second reading, waiving the third, and adopting policy BGAA? 500. Next up, Anne previewed it for us, policy JLCD. I'll take a motion to accept the second reading of policy JLCD, administering medication to students.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Discussion.
So again, we've seen this policy last month, just confirming that also our nurses have reviewed this policy and felt comfortable with it. I know, Anne, you did have some grammatical notes that you had emailed to me, and we'll make sure that we capture those changes.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
I have not been to the policy committee for Hollis. Have you reviewed EBBC or JLCE yet?
I don't think so.
Okay.
There was a couple of policies that we had tabled because they had felt, say them again.
EBBC or JLCE. They're technically the same policy,
Yep,
but so JLCE is referenced in this one.
yep.
And I'm hoping that we do review the JLCE/EBBC at the
Yep.
next one, because I would like it to be double coded, and that would affect letter B, where we would put EBBC/JLCE. And I'd like to come to that policy committee meeting whenever you do review it. Or just so I can walk you through it.
Yeah, we can
That
put it on
policy.
the agenda for, we have not reviewed those.
Okay.
We can put it on the
All right,
agenda
so
for
yeah,
next month.
if we can do that one next.
Yeah, great.
And this is just accepting
Yeah,
the second reading,
yeah.
so we're not
Yes,
adopting
perfect,
just
yeah,
yet.
yeah.
Any other questions, comments?
Looking at the line, upon delegation, the nurse will document the delegation and the delegation process, etc.
Can you give us an idea of what section you're in?
First page.
underlined.
After Roman numeral 3.
After Roman numeral 3, yeah.
Thank you.
It's underlined. What is implied with the nurse will document the delegation? Is it like long-term maintained a record documentation? Is it written permission? Like, I found that a little vague.
I think it is meant to allow some flexibility on purpose. I don't think that is meant to imply a long-term documentation. I think that is meant to talk about a specific instance, but I think it also is supposed to allow a little bit of, I don't think you want to be so specific that the nurse has to, document it exactly in this,
Yeah.
particular log for when they're going out on a field trip, but it is not meant to refer to a long-term process.
If
And
you
it's-
read the section above the three numerals, you'll see it talks about may delegate and nurses designate.
No, I understand that particular part. It was more I've been dealing with records, capital R, a lot. And so I was reading this and it threw me off when I read, so it's the nurse will document the delegation and the delegation process. And then it adds on, and leave written instructions with the delegate as appropriate, all into one clause. And so I was like, okay, is that, they're gonna document the actual delegation, the SOP for the delegation, and leave the written instructions, or it held me up when I read the sentences.
It
I
is
was
a
trying
tough,
to figure
it's
out.
a tough sentence, period, because of the repeated use of the word delegation. I agree
Sure.
with you on
Want me
that.
to
So
rephrase
maybe
that
we can,
sentence?
Yeah,
So, and that documentation process is outlined in the New Hampshire New Nurse Practice Act and the New Hampshire Code of Administrative Regulations, Nurse 404. So we just felt it was important to put the fact that, you know, when a nurse is delegating medication administration to someone, that we have it documented so that we're clear, you know, who, how, and that that she's followed that process, or he, and that the delegate has all their instructions. So if we want to change or tweak that wording, we totally can, but we wanted to put the fact that there's a documentation process for it.
We can
Yeah.
look at it and maybe rephrase it a little bit so
Sure.
it's a little easier to read.
like it.
yeah.
To just let you guys know that we won't take up more policy approvals until the April meeting. Just to remind everybody, we don't take that up in February. Or March.
You may consider just in saying the official process, because if it's a law or the legally defined whatever, then that points it up, and that would be very clear for me if I read it that way.
Sure.
Okay, I have that note.
Cool. Any other comments, questions on JLCD? Seeing none, all those in favor of accepting the second reading? 5-0-0. All right, our next one. I'll take a motion to accept the first reading of policy EHLB, subpoenas involving district students, officials, employees, and/or records.
So moved.
A second? Discussion.
So this is required by law, so it is not a policy that we necessarily have a ton of flexibility around.
Language provided by the NHSBA. Questions, comments, everybody?
The only comments that I already sent to Jess are, there are a couple of instances where it only says parent, and I feel like to be consistent with other policies, it should say parent/guardian. So, it's the only thing you might see
I
next
think we
time.
actually had discussed that in the policy as well, and that didn't get captured here in this document, but we had discussed that, yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
And I was gonna say, I'll be attending the next policy committee to discuss this one a little bit further as well.
Any last comments on the EHLB? Seeing none, all those in favor of accepting the first reading? 5-0-0. Next up is policy JICK. I'll take a motion to accept the first reading of policy JICK, pupil safety and violence protection bullying, as presented.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Discussion.
So this was reorganized, and there are some changes in content, but fundamentally, it's not really changes in what we are actually doing in practice.
Was this laws determined, was it a law
Yes.
change that determined the language?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I anticipate this language came directly from
Yeah.
NHSBA.
And we also have legal counsel reviewing this policy, and we'll have some input from them by the next policy.
I will say, when I was reviewing this, the thing that stood out to me was that it's referring to things that, that the school is addressing, things that are happening outside of school. And I was saying, well, that feels like maybe that's kind of opening up a can of worms. And the teacher said, the principal said, we're already doing that anyway. So
Right, there are parameters around that though.
Sure.
So, we'll make sure this is all listed accordingly.
Does this new language expand the parameters
No.
beyond what we've been doing? Okay. Thank you. Any other questions on JICK?
Yeah.
These tiny Chromebooks make us all like.
In G3, so that's page. It's closer to
12
the
of
end.
15 if you're.
G3 appeals.
Yeah, appeals. There's just a weird spacing thing.
It's a little
here.
smushy. The parent care, caregiver.
Would that be guardian? Is that
Yeah, I think we would.
just
we
clean
can
up
make
that
we can make
language
that
to
just-
be the same as we usually have? I love consistency across policies. Yeah. Excellent. Good call out. Any others, guys, on JICK? Seeing none, all those in favor of accepting the first reading? 500. And our final policy for this evening, FEH. I'll take a motion to accept the first reading of policy FEH, supervision of construction, clerk of the works / owner's project manager as presented.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
So we are updating this policy in light of our upcoming
I was gonna say, well,
Potential-
this is timely.
Yes.
construction. Yep. And so what this
Wondered
is
about that.
doing is saying that for projects over a certain amount, which our proposed construction would be over this amount, that it's required that we have a clerk of the works or what's referred to as an owner's project manager. And so that means that this is a person who is not a project manager for the construction company, but a project manager on behalf of the school, who is sort of like reviewing for us and making sure that things are happening as they should be, reviewing the architect's work, the contractor's activities, building construction, making sure that operations are happening as they should be. I know that there was another project that Mrs. Fowler had said that they had happened about a decade ago, and that they had a clerk of the works, and she had said that it was immensely helpful, and that person had noticed several sort of like problems, like captured them, that they would have caused issues and caused expenses, and so she had found that very helpful, and so we were just sort of making some updates to this policy.
I like the name clerk of the works.
Yeah, it
That's a fun
does.
title.
It does sound pretty cool. Gina, this was suggested by Bancroft, wasn't it? Didn't Brad bring this up
And
in
it's
one
already-
of the meetings?
It is budgeted for in the, is my understanding.
It's budgeted.
Yeah.
It's budgeted.
Yeah, I thought so.
The question was, when we were asking to really trim down the budget, were we willing to forego this? And I said no.
No, he
We
did
were
not
not.
recommend that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Smart.
I remember that conversation. Yep.
So this is in the bond number that we were looking for?
It's in the estimate, yeah, that was among their itemized estimates of soft costs.
Any other questions on this one? On clerk of the works? Seeing none, all those in favor of accepting the first reading? 500. That concludes our deliberation. All that is left this evening before we adjourn is a non-public session. I will accept a motion.
Can I ask a
Oh.
quick question?
You may.
Do we have a feeling of if we're moving forward with a 2025 or 29-year bond?
Oh, that's a great question.
Do you have the numbers? I have the
They're in
numbers
the-
for,
they're-
they're in the agenda packet?
Yeah,
Oh,
they're,
Vendor enrollment committee.
there's a 20, a 29, and then
You know what?
25 is at the end.
I always go to the
So-
agenda instead of the agenda packet.
I
That's
wrote
my
them
problem.
down. Do you mind if I just quick reference the total cost and the
Yeah, go ahead.
interest?
If you want to, yeah.
All right, so the 20-year is $8,814,663.44 for the interest. The 25 is $11,480,361.69, which is a delta of about, let's just say, 2.66 million. And then the 29 is $14,123,333.69, which is a delta 20 to 29, the delta is 5.3 million, and the difference between 25 and 29 is 2.6 million. So basically, if you jump from 20 to 29, you're doubling the 25 number. So it's a significant amount of extra interest. The total payments are approximately 28.1 million for the 20 year, 30.8 for the 25, and 29 year is 33.5. All of those are in the documents. So if I messed up a number and someone's watching this, please just reference the documents.
Oh no, I'm gonna call you out.
That's fine. I would expect no less.
And the biggest fiscal year payment for 2029 is at just under 1.6 million, whereas for the 25 it's around 1.64 million, and for the 20 years around 1.78 million. So that biggest payment for fiscal year 28 is around a $35,000 or $40,000 difference, so definitely smaller than the gap to the 20 year.
Yeah, and I think the budget committee's sentiment between the 20 and the 29 was well outlined earlier of just why do we give the bank more money on one side, and on the other side, why are we making the
Unloading it to-
longevity? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just as a refresher, because we went over all those policies.
So Ralph, what's your take, being our BudCom liaise?
I think that the 25 is superior to the 29 for a difference of 35 to 40,000 for that biggest payment for fiscal year 28. Like that seems like a smaller difference to be able to a smaller difference that brings us down a few years and brings us a couple million savings in interest. So I think between those two, 25 sounds better. I think the bigger debate is to between the 20 and the 25. It's like philosophical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a thought between 20 and 25? No pressure.
She just turned and faced you, but no
I know,
pressure
right?
at all.
I think part of it comes down to how we see like the lifespan of it. If we see it, if 25 years matches what we expect to get out of it for its lifetime, then that could make sense. Where it's a nice like in between.
I love that you mentioned that, because that was something we've heard over the years where we've been trying to pay for things. You never want to be paying for them longer than they'll last. Obviously, this building, this is just me with my opinion here, but you know, obviously this building, we're making the right choices to make it big enough to last, and if other things have to happen with other buildings and other things, then we address those down the way. But right now, this is the most urgent need, and it is something that's going to last. So I don't personally have a preference between 20 and 25. I understand the BudCom's concern about the 20 just because of the extra. What do you, I want to kind of go around the horn. I want everyone to hear from everybody, so we'll get to you. What do you think, Jess? What are your thoughts on these? I'm gonna face you now. Feel the pressure.
I did not attend this budget meeting, but I do. I can't remember where I remember this comment being referenced, but that there was a comment from a recent budget committee meeting that if you think about big updates to schools, they often happen in like 30-year cycles. You know, does that feel true to you, Gina, in your experiences? You know, and so I think it is meaningful that it should definitely not be the 29. You know, and that it should be coming in under that. And so by that metric, I think either the 20 or the 25 feels reasonable. I do think it is reasonable to think about like who is going to be making use of this, right? And I do expect 25 years worth of students to be making use of like this edition.
you know, and so it doesn't feel unreasonable that 25 years worth of families would be paying for the addition, you know, versus front loading the expense. You know, it's a community investment, and so like that it should be spread across the community. I don't think that I think that feels reasonable. I also, right, we are also trying to be fiscally prudent, and there is a difference of millions of dollars worth of interest, you know, and that's that is notable. I think I feel inclined towards the 25, and just thinking about it is reasonable that who is making use of this investment, you know, and that it should be spread across who is making use of the investment. That's my instinct.
Thank you. Anne, since you aren't fully ingrained in every other aspect of this project, let's get your take on the budget side.
I do really care about what Hollis residents are paying. I mean, I've mentioned I've talked to the Hollis seniors, and I've been in touch with them, and of course their children have been out of the schools for a long time, and there is a huge tax burden on our seniors in town. And so I think about them, and it really it matters to me that we're trying to do what's right by them as well. It's hard for me with these numbers because it would be, and I'm not saying we should have this, but it would be helpful if I had this is the average cost of a home in Hollis. The increase on their taxes, what would their tax bill be for the next 4 to 5 years with each of these options?
Yeah.
I mean, because it really does come down to the impact on the individuals, and I'm just wondering how much of a difference is there for the individual? If the difference for the average person in Hollis and what they're actually paying for a 20 versus 25 versus 29, if it's not a huge difference, well then, just value perspective, you think, well then we should go with 20. But if it turns out that, going up to 25 or to 29 significantly reduces what that population of our town is paying, well, there's part of me that feels like maybe we could cut them a break. So without that information, it is hard for me to make a really informed decision by the way my mind works. That being said, just going with the way I operate in my life, I like to shoot down the middle.
Is it possible? Is it do we have to? It does feel meaningful to get that information before we make an official decision about this. What would be the?
Are you a math whiz, Rafi, that could pull that? I know if I call my husband right now, he'd spit it out.
Yeah,
for
so
us,
that information isn't even available right now. That is something that Tom Gann would put together for the bond hearing and the presentation. I agree that that's important to know, what does it look like between this home versus that home. And that doesn't mean it can't change. At the bond hearing, let's say, we say 25 and then
interest rates change.
Well,
that's
we'll
what I was
have
going to say, is if in
unknowns.
July, everything's different, do we need to commit to one right now? We can say our intention is to do this, asterisk, depending on what the bond sale looks like.
I feel like we probably need to commit. I think it would.
I think we need.
I would like to commit as well. I'm just saying if
Something improved.
if something improves, you want the flexibility to make a different decision.
Well, what I was going to say though is at the bond hearing, if there's enough public input that suggests that it be shifted to a 29 or to a 20, if we recommend 25, that can still happen at that time.
Fair.
But I feel like right now I've been I'm not really sure where we're at, and I would love to have direction to say, no, we feel that 25 is the best average, or that 29 spreads it out, or that, gosh, that interest is just so hard to swallow, we would, prefer to pay it over 20 years.
Got it.
And that's the recommendation of the board.
Before we keep going, I just want to give Jonathan a chance for his piece of input, and then we'll bring it back to our discussion.
Sure.
So if
Thanks.
my recollection's correct from the December 9th BudCom meeting, one of the other things that came up, I think, was that some of the rolling debt that we have is clearing in the next few years as well. And it left me with a thought that one, I don't particularly like the idea of giving, even if I'm comparing the 20 to the 25, giving 2.6 million to a bank in interest. While I understand fiscally it spreads it out over a longer period of time, and it's slightly less impactful. When you're talking about a $19 million bond and you're talking about 2.6, the benefit there is questionable in my financial head. I also think that, so first of all, the school expansion is happening after, what, almost 50 years of not having expanded the school?
It was 87 that the last addition was put on. Am I right about that, Gina? I'm pretty sure it was 87.
Yeah,
40 years.
So
Yeah.
it's been a while.
So it's quite some time. So I can understand the argument towards 25 or 29. At the same time, I think the 20 for me, first, it gives me less interest than I'm paying, which financially to me, just you do that because that's the better one. Secondly, it means that the bond is paid off a little faster. So if other expenditures come up for either Hollis or the district, that bond clears the books faster and opens up either tax relief later on because we're not paying the bond down in savings, and we haven't spent the 2.6 million, or if something else comes up, it may also result in the same alleviation we're feeling now, which is the net rate isn't going to go up long term because some of the debts that we've already had are clearing. And so I lean towards the 20-year from I don't really want to give them the extra interest money. I may take flack for this opinion, but I don't truck with, well, my kids aren't in school, so I don't want to have to pay for some of the things. That's not at UN. I've heard it too from citizenry.
Yeah.
Because someone paid for you, and your expenditures at that time probably were within the same boats possibly. And so it's a rolling wave educationally, who has to pay for what. That doesn't mean it's not a hardship. It doesn't mean it's not difficult. Absolutely it is. But at the same time, I stand with the pattern of, if it was done for you, passing it forward is the correct thing to do. So that is a net neutral argument for me. And so I'm left with financially, spend less on the interest, clear the debt a little faster, and provide the relief in the longer term picture, rather than taking on a bit more or spreading it to future families.
Gina, I'm not sure if you need an official vote from us here, or just you need a sense of the board.
Just a sense, I guess. I mean, just looking at the difference between 29 and 25, the first large payment that Rafi was talking about, it drops under 47,000. The first payment going from 25 down to 20, it drops 140,000. So I feel like 25 is that sweet spot where there is a decent reduction in the annual payments. Like it's not that different from the 29, but yet we're still saving $3 million in the interest.
And I just want to
Nope, go ahead.
okay, address the benefit of the 20-year rolling off. So for then the items then, obviously we don't know exactly what the big expenditures are at the 20-year mark. What we do know is that we have some big items coming up in the near term, so the front-loaded part of this bond, like police and fire is a safety facility. That is going to be something big that we don't at this time really know what that's going to look like, but is going to be something that's very expensive, and that's part of why the town portion of capital is going to be going up a bunch by fiscal year 28. So basically for context, like fiscal year 27, capital goes up by around 2.7 million, and from 4.5 to 7.2, and then for fiscal year 28 goes from 7.2 to 9.5. Now, a number of these things might not pass, they might get pushed out, so it's all very variable. Like I think one of those is Hardy West is in there with a big number, so certainly some things could be spread out or pushed out or voted down. But the general sense from this exercise of the Capital Expenditure Advisory Committee is that we have some near-term big things coming in, and so I think in trying to balance out 20 years from now versus 2 to 3 years from now, it seems like there could be some benefit to having increased total interest, but slightly lower yearly payments for the new term.
So you're saying overall, based on what we've been hearing from the rest of the other budget constraints outside the school district, the extra runway may be of extreme importance to the Hollis residents, basically, because we're getting big things coming in.
Yeah.
Okay. Potentially.
So I think that just from the sense of what we just discussed, I'd say probably go with the 25. And if there's
Thank you.
if there's feedback at the bond hearing that people want it done sooner or take longer, we can certainly take that under advisement and decide from there, while also employing the flexibility that may come with any bond market changes that might happen.
Great, thank you. I appreciate
Cool,
that.
thanks.
Yep.
So our last, as I was saying, our last item on the, anything else? Okay. Our last item on the agenda is a non-public. We will adjourn right after that. But I will take a motion that the board by roll call go into non-public session pursuant to RSA 91-A:3, Section 2A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee, and C, to discuss a matter which, if discussed in public, would likely affect adversely the reputation of a person other than a member of the body or agency itself.
Moved.
A second?
Second.
I don't think we need any discussion. We're going into non-public. So